We're joined now by Jo Cox's husband, Brendan. Brendan, hi. I felt quite emotional watching that speech. How did you feel?
Both tired and emotional, yes. It was early in the morning and the kids weren't up yet, but we had a video call with her later on to wish her congratulations. And yeah, I mean, it was an incredibly proud moment for all of us. Of course, you know, the fact that she won is the sort of crowning element of it, but the reality is, whether she had won or lost, the bravery in putting yourself forward in a really difficult environment, in a pretty brutal campaign. She campaigned positively throughout, and I think, you know, as I said, me and the kids, whether she had won or lost, would have been just as proud of her.
Indeed, Auntie Kim, I guess, she had to put up with what she called a nasty circus in her home. It must have been pretty tough for you, and indeed for the kids, to witness that.
Yeah, I mean, the kids weren't close to the detail of it at all, and they were excited that Kim was standing. But I think what the result showed, you know, particularly on the far right and the extreme right, they all lost their deposits. They all got, you know, 0.0% or something, you know, really tiny voting percentages. And it shows once again that the people of Batley and Spen, of course, they have the differences and they have the disagreements, but there is a sort of a deep decency. And whether you were voting Conservative or Labour in this election, that sense of decency and ability to have a debate and to have disagreements and to have a passionate debate about the future of the community shouldn't lead to the sort of insults and abuse that some of the fringe candidates tried to throw into the debate, but ultimately unsuccessfully.
Jo's motto was more in common. Her legacy was that we have more in common, that there is more that unites us in this country that divides us. There were times during that by-election when it didn't feel like that. How does that sort of politics emerge? What gives it oxygen?
I think it's very easy, particularly in hard-fought by-election campaigns, to lean into our divisions rather than our connections. You know, particularly if you are willing to be economical with the truth, if you're willing to pour fuel onto tensions, then it's very easy to turn people against each other. The fact that, despite all of that, as I say, those fringe candidates really disappeared without a trace. The fact that the vast majority of people voted for those two main parties, and yes, it was close, but actually the election between those parties was pretty respectful and pretty decent. So we can never stop people coming and trying to pour petrol onto flames. That will always happen. There will always be irresponsible people that have no connection to the community and don't care about what it's like once they leave town. The question is whether that petrol really does light an inferno, and in this case it didn't. What it did, yes, it created some community tensions. Yes, it meant the campaign was pretty grim and horrible to watch. Yes, it meant there was sort of abuse hurled in the street. But in terms of the actual impact on the result, it was negligible. So I think that's the thing. I think even in the face of all of that provocation, I think the people of Batley and Spen have again shown what Jo believes, that commonality is more important than those differences.
As well as thanking you for coming on our show, Brendan, I wanted to congratulate you, actually, if I may. This is you on Twitter early this morning. Elections are bruising, it takes bravery to stand. So thank you to Ryan Stevenson, of course, the Conservative candidate, for fighting the campaign on the issues and not pandering on divisions. We may disagree on a lot, but he's a good man and has more to give. What you're doing there is trying to really elucidate and demonstrate decency in politics, and that's why I wanted to thank you. Your dear wife was murdered at the height of a really torrid time in British politics, just before the Brexit referendum, of course. We have had a really torrid 5 years in British politics, haven't we? Are you hopeful we can move on?
I'm very hopeful, and I think Jo would have been as well. I think she would have been optimistic about the direction of the country, that yes, we can have very difficult conversations about, whether it's independence for part of the country in the case of Scotland, or whether we're in or out of the European Union, that we can vehemently disagree with each other over that. And, as per the campaign that's just happened, you can have a very strong disagreement over the future of the country, but there's ways that you can do that are still respectful, that still recognise the fact that in the aftermath of those elections, you all have to live together again. Your community is still your community. And so I think in the aftermath of all of these things, it's always about recognising that, yes, you have opponents on the other side of politics, but that you have to try and avoid making them your enemies, because if they're your enemies, it becomes very hard to bring your communities together again. And the Conservatives in this election, we might disagree on lots of things, but they fought a clean fight. They fought it on the issues. They tried to win and they worked hard. And I think, for a democracy to work, that's incredibly important. You have to welcome that challenge and engage people. And yes, you might have fundamental disagreements, but that's the nature of a democracy. So I think, yes, I think we should all take a moment in the aftermath of these moments, win or lose, to recognise the commonality and the respect that you have for each other, even if you do disagree on lots of different issues.
We thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, Brendan, and also to say your family has been through such a hard time over the last 5 years, and I'm sure we speak for the whole country when we send our love to you and your family.
Hear, hear.
Thank you very much. Thank you.